We spend an enormous amount of energy trying to dictate exactly how our lives will unfold. We map out our careers, schedule our milestones, and micromanage the people around us, trying to force reality to match our blueprints. This constant gripping stems from a narrow definition of strength. We are taught to admire the immovable object, the brick wall that stands against every challenge and refuses to give an inch. Building a wall does nothing to stop the weather. We still face the physical reality of our bodies aging, the sting of professional failures, the weight of social criticism, and the deep daily uncertainty of the future. This creates a dangerous paradox. The tighter we grip our expectations and the more we demand things go our way, the more fragile our mental state becomes. This modern exhaustion grows directly from our attempt to fight an unwinnable war. We are depleting ourselves by trying to control the uncontrollable. This approach is driven by the rigid mind, a cognitive operating system built entirely on resistance and the belief that every obstacle must be overpowered. This system functions until it meets a force it cannot defeat. Eventually, the rigid mind encounters a massive, unexpected change, a loss or a crisis that it simply cannot control. When an unyielding structure meets an unstoppable force, the result is structural collapse. The mind that refuses to adapt experiences the most profound psychological suffering. If fighting the storm leads to our destruction, we have to look for a different way to operate. We need a system that allows us to absorb the impact of reality and remain intact. A historical Buddhist parable illustrates this dynamic. It begins with the Buddha and his disciples walking a quiet path through a peaceful bamboo forest. Without warning, a violent seasonal storm arrived. Heavy rain poured down, and fierce, erratic winds began tearing through the woods. The disciples watched the tallest, thickest trees in the forest try to hold their ground. Relying on their mass, they fought the wind, until their heavy branches snapped and their roots were torn from the soil. The bamboo reacted differently. Instead of standing rigid, each thin stalk bent deeply with every gust. They yielded to the pressure, moving completely in tandem with the wind. When the weather cleared, the bamboo slowly stood upright again, completely unharmed. The bamboo survives because it does not believe it must be stronger than reality. This principle applies directly to the internal landscape. A flexible mind accepts change as a fundamental condition of existence, rather than a problem to be solved. In Vipassana meditation, this state is built on the concept of Anicca, or impermanence. It is the understanding that all physical sensations and life events are entirely temporary. A flexible mind practices Anicca by simply observing. When pleasure arrives, you watch it pass. When pain hits, you observe without reacting, knowing it's temporary. In physics, when a rigid system is struck by a moving force, it absorbs that destructive kinetic energy and fractures. But when that force hits a flexible system, yielding diffuses the energy. The wave passes harmlessly, and the system snaps back into alignment. Resilience is a function of cognitive adaptation. Learning to bend when the pressure increases is a more effective survival strategy than stubbornness. Look closely at your own daily anxieties. Think about the energy you spend trying to alter situations or control people that are entirely outside of your influence. The principle of Anicca neutralizes this friction. When you internalize that aging, failure, and criticism are just passing weather patterns, they lose their power to cause deep suffering. Yielding to the storm is an intentional strategy of endurance. This tactical flexibility preserves the energy needed to survive the seasons, while more rigid structures are pulled from the ground. Even our most revered symbols of peace are marked by the damage of time. They lose pieces of themselves, yet remain deeply grounded. Life's unexpected crises are not enemies sent to destroy you. They are the friction required to show you exactly where you need to become more flexible. The rigid mind creates its own destruction by demanding that reality conform to its expectations. The flexible mind survives by conforming to reality. A profound sense of peace arrives the moment you stop asking the wind to stop. Stop acting like the heavy, immovable oak tree and adopt the mechanics of the bamboo. By letting go of the need for control and learning to bend, you ensure you remain deeply rooted long after the strongest storms have passed.